the past is not a prophecy.
Mm.
And, so I was like, yeah, it's not. I think our brain wants to tell us, this is what you know. This is where it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Go there. Don't get out of there. Don't, don't, it's scary out there.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want to change it? Let's just stay here where it's cozy.
I gotta be free.
Welcome to the Delulu Magic podcast. I'm Paola.
And I'm Gabby, and we're here to share with you guys about our friendship of 30 plus years and all the things we've learned the past few years as we continue to grow together.
Yes. And Delulu Magic, we're here to help people upgrade their mindset and live the most magical, most delusional version of their lives, but in the best way. Sometimes, we want you to dream as big as possible. And to do that, sometimes you have to feel a little delusional to bring in that energy that you want. So today we wanted to focus a little bit on, what we're doing in fear. And even though this has been like a magical experience, you're still going to feel fear, right? That's a normal thing.
Oh, yeah. I definitely agree with that. This project, this thing we're creating together is probably been one of the scariest things I've done as an adult. And it's been interesting because there's day to day we've, agreed on it. We've started to develop it. We've worked very hard on it. And then there's still like these moments of like, oh my gosh, I'm so giddy. Am I so nervous because I'm scared? I'm afraid? Or because, I'm doing the right thing. Like I'm still having to tell myself my mindset, change it from going with fear into being like, no, this is really like brave. This is, having some courage to step out.
Yeah. And and knowing that being in fear is a normal thing. Like, right. It would be, imagine like if our kids came to us and they're like, hey, I want to do this thing, but it's really scary and I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. Or if you came to me, right? We're going to hype each other up. We're going to be like, that's totally normal. It's totally normal to be scared of something new, something that you've never stepped into.
Yes.
But it's getting past that. And I think on the other side of that is like such beauty, right? And such growth.
It is. And it feels good. And especially, concentrating on all the things we've learned, all the tools, right? The whole mindset.
Yeah.
Really focusing on this is for the greater good. My own, everybody else's, I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right path. And then having things happen every day that point you to that kind of makes, it lessens, like for me, it lessens the feelings of anxiety and then, like wanting to hide and not come out. Just like I'm not comfortable doing this, but I'm going to have to learn to be comfortable, And like we talked about the whole week, or even, necessarily this morning today, how we both said, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I'm so happy to be doing this. And I'm like, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it can be both, right? Like it could be really exciting, really like just like this euphoric feeling, and also be really scary.
Yeah. And I love that we can say that now. And for all the emotions and fear and excitement. So putting together our podcast, I think came about from realizing, we wanted to share, our own experiences and with others and have people some connection that there's so much going on and that most of us that live in this constant state of fear or suppressing, hiding, don't ever have the time to actually dig in and figure out why am I having all these things. So we've kind of worked through that, and now we're here at this stage, and we've done a lot of the work, and we still have those feelings.
Yeah,
they still want to come up. Like those emotions still want to come up and show up.
No matter how much of an expert manifester, right? We hear all these people
meditation,
talking, meditation. Like it's inevitable. I think it's our brain, and sometimes we believe what our brain, right?
Yeah.
These thoughts.
Yeah.
And we let the thoughts control us.
Yeah.
Instead of us saying, hey, we choose to shift. Yes, I'm scared, and that's okay. Like I have a name for my brain. Her name's.
What's the
And
name?
I used to be really
did not
critical.
notice. You keep surprising me.
I did. For a while, because I was in a state of way back then that I was overly critical of myself. Or I think you know we all have those voices like, oh, I should have done it this or I should have done that, right? And then eventually I started being like, okay, brain, like just be quiet, like just stop talking. You know, I don't want to hear that in a very harsh way. But then I learned to have, just like I started having more compassion for myself, I started having more compassion for Becky. That's her name. Becky is that friend, okay, that loves you and that wants the best for you.
Yeah.
But Becky is like, girl, are you sure you're going to do that? That's scary. Becky was definitely in my brain this morning. She's like, you're going to like be on a podcast and that's a lot of people that are going to see you.
Even if it's like 2 people.
Yeah.
2 people that didn't know this about me.
Yeah. Or how are you going to sound or whatever new thing it is that you want to try.
Yeah.
Right. We all have this Becky that's like, and it wants to protect you. It's looking at the past and me being like, hey, I've seen other people do that and they failed. Or maybe you tried something and you failed. But what Becky doesn't consider is all the things that you learn from that.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, Becky, chill. Like, it's okay. Like, I appreciate you and I know that you're trying to protect me.
Yeah.
But just because that happened doesn't mean that's going to happen in the future. There's 1,000 different scenarios. And I'm going to choose to focus on the positive ones.
Yeah. And like what you said earlier, like it was Joe Dispenza speaking about the day, right? And I was listening to it. And actually, before I pulled up to the studio, he said that he was talking to somebody, I don't know, again, somebody that he knew, but that he had to tell this person that, you know, the past is not a prophecy. And, you know, so I was like, yeah, it's not. I think our brain wants to tell us, this is what you know. This is where it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Go there. Don't get out of there. Don't it's scary out there. Why do you want to change it? Let's just stay here where it's cozy.
Yeah, where it's cozy.
And we know this. We know how to do this. We know how to be, you know, suppressed. We know how to not show who we really are or talk about vulnerable things that are scary. Keep saying that word, but that's what it feels like. You know, you're just kind of like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna wait out a little bit. Then our brain, our heart, whatever, wants to say, no, we don't do that.
Yeah,
we you know, we keep it in, and then some other emotion shows up. So, I think this has been a good experience to add to all the other things, like these past few weeks, building, getting to this day,
absolutely,
of recording our first podcast.
I know, on such a perfect day.
Yeah, it is. So I kind of was curious. I wanted to kind of have like a little recap of how we got here, of like the moment, like how we, like, you know, if you want to share how we
absolutely
came to this.
I mean, I think, you know, luckily you and I have each other to be to vent to, right? And there's a lot of people, this is another reason that, you know, we don't want people thinking they're going through this alone, or that, hey, it's like what I'm going through is completely different. Obviously, everybody in their own way, everyone has their own struggles. But even people that have the most amazing life from the outside, they're going through internal struggles at times. And I think that's kind of what you and I went through. There was a lot of things, you know, we've been very successful in career. We had certain things we focused on, but we never really focused, I know, on ourselves, right? Like we're former people pleasers, former just all of that.
Yes.
And I think, you know, you told me to listen to Brené Brown, the vulnerability thing, and I was just like, wow, that's crazy that's a thing that if you're vulnerable kind of leads to happiness, right, in the study. And I just thought, you and us talking, right, being more vulnerable and more authentic, and I think that's an overused word, but just basically be you. And I don't think I was ever able to be me, but not because anyone else was telling me not to be. It was like my own cage that I put myself in, right?
Yeah.
So being more vulnerable, and I think we talked about it at the beginning of last year, and it became like a thing, and we talked about it. And I don't know if you know this, but like, in speaking of like how fear plays into this, right?
Yes.
You have this thing, I want to be more vulnerable. And obviously that's a scary thing, right?
Yeah.
That's, to me, the scariest thing that you can actually possibly do, putting yourself out there. But I would like be writing notes and, this is such a great idea. This was January of 2024. It's like took a whole year, right?
Yeah.
Because then the fear would be like, but that's going to take a lot of work, and you got to like open up the Instagram account, and, you know, you got to figure out what email, you know, whatever, right? All these things you're going to tell yourself.
Little pebbles.
Yeah. And it's going to be, you know, are you sure you want to do that? Or you could just chill and watch some Netflix. Like, let's not do all of the other stuff.
Yes.
So that fear getting in the way. But I think back to kind of how we came up with it, then finally at the beginning of December, I guess you could
Yes.
take over. We really started to focus more. We've been focusing on ourselves, but really thinking what else could make
yeah,
us
that's
happy.
right. We started to do a lot of things. I think that we put ourselves first, and it just got to be this season of time that we reached there. It was like, okay, we're gonna go and find things that bring us some joy, because we know it's a very busy time and we need a break. And what brings us joy is usually being together or going to find things and talking a lot about our feelings. And now we wanted to incorporate being out around other people. So that brought us, like, we took ourselves out of something that we've gotten so used to not doing for so long. And I think
Yeah.
just realizing in those moments of every activity we did, which it was like, we went to a comedy show, we went to like a Christmas bar, we did like some other gatherings, we saw each other a lot. Then we did like the vision board before the end of the year. And that, I think, really did it, that it was like, okay, we really need to be conscious of what we're going to be doing with our lives. And then coming into the season as well, that our children are getting older, and seeing all the changes, and like, what am I doing for myself? Because everything tells you right now, like, have you thought about yourself? And I honestly thought I had for years. We always thought I think about myself, I take care of myself, but never this. So going from that, and then you like bringing it up again, and it was kind of like, you know what, I think this could be something we could do. Then having the conversation, it was like, I think this is something we could do, because we love being with each other. I think both of us have gone through a really
Awakening.
yes, an awakening. And it's like almost like, not, I don't know if it's like for me, it almost sometimes feels like a rebirth. Like, it doesn't feel like there was such a long time of my life I felt like I was grasping onto this Gaby from like my youth. I wanted her, I wanted that. I felt like she didn't get everything, and I couldn't figure out what she didn't get. And now, like, I've done so much, like therapy and all these other alternative therapies, we'll call them, like meditation. My no, that's not alternative. My faith has grown tremendously, but now I've realized it's like, no, I don't want that person, that who I thought I needed. I need me now, the one that's gone through all of these things, the one that could sit here and have conversations and be like, this is who I am.
Yeah, that
And
whole
this is
version.
who I love, and this is, I'm not looking, I'm not searching for this person that I needed, and because I've been here all along.
Yes.
So it's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, I saw that this week, and it was something about, you've just got to let that go. That's served you. What that served me.
Yeah. We hold on to these old stories, of our past. Either we romanticize it, maybe like you were like, oh my God, that age, or, whatever, or we hold on to whatever traumatic event happened, and we keep, and I know that's definitely what I was doing. I know you and I have, been there. And that's the reason that we got to vulnerability and authenticity, because something was feeling like, I was like, something is not like, something was off, right? Something was just not feeling like fulfilled. It was just, when you're there, right? I think, and it's a hard feeling, and you struggle with it, and you're trying to find connection, you're trying to find like meaning, and listening to podcasts, listening to like Joe Dispenza, like, honestly, just completely changed. And it definitely took a lot of work, right? So that's the thing, that all these tips that we're going to go over, and things just to be more aware of, but you still have to put in the work. And it's not always like, it's not like you have to do hours of work every day, but if you just start to change change 1% every day, this one little new thing that, tell yourself you love yourself every day. Those little things, they start to add up. It's the really small things,
and
these
you don't-
habits that we have.
Yeah, it's hard, but you don't. Before you realize, it's like you've already changed a certain behavior pattern, thought, whatever. It's already, because you've been doing everyday little things, and they all eventually add up together to make this big transformation. Almost like, you're not the same person that had those feelings, had those thoughts, because now you're able to regulate yourself. I don't know. I mean, I feel like what did we discuss earlier? Because we both laughed because I said emotional regulation and feeling that I'm not stressed. I'm not.
It's a weird feeling.
And then I said, this is what normal people feel like. The ones that are not up and down on this roller coaster of whatever we are on. Really, really full of happiness, or you're just down on the floor and then middle and all the things. And so learning to feel all that, it has also led to this moment.
Yeah.
Being in this podcast, learning to be, they're all okay. Every single emotion is welcome.
Single emotion.
Everything is okay. It can, but it doesn't have to stay.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to keep you, and I can usually get through you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to, honestly, right? I think sitting with emotions was not my thing. I would rather do anything else. I'm like, who can I call? What can I do? What Netflix show can I watch? Right? Sitting with anything, that was a hard emotion. And now I realize that emotions are they're a gift. They're here to tell us something, right? If you're feeling a certain way, then yes, I think it's important to shift to, live in a Delulu type of way if it's something like small that you're triggered. But sometimes it's important to say, I feel this way and I need to kind of go a little deeper to figure out what it is that I'm trying to face, just like with the fear.
Yeah.
Right? All the things that I was telling myself weren't real. Right when you look at the monster under the bed and you're like, okay, I faced that thing, right? That thing that I thought was so scary, that really wasn't that scary, once I actually did it.
Yes.
And, we build it up to such a huge thing in our brains, right? And continue to ruminate and make it bigger.
That's the favorite. That's the favorite. If you live with this kind of thing, you know what it's like, where you're just the self-criticism, and the thoughts that just continue to come on. And the more you bring them on, the more they kind of spiral, and then you just go into that ruminating, and then it's just the whole cycle that you sometimes you get out of, but most of the times you end up feeling overwhelmed. And even, obviously physically you can be sick just from that, just because you keep putting stuff in your mind and bringing it forth to you. And I felt for a long time, I heard that from people, and I was like, nah, yeah, sure, whatever. That's not true. I know better. I don't. That's not. Your thoughts are not your real. That's not what I'm not attracting. Why would I be attracting stress? Why would I be this person? I'm not. No. I'm like a positive person. I'm a happy person. I am a happy person. That's what I told myself for so many years. I am a nice, happy person. That was my goal. That's what I wanted everybody to see. And oh my gosh, did it take so long to accept that? I was like, nope. You know what? You're not always happy. You're not always kind. You're not always going to be a nice. Yes, you are genuinely have those. You live that kind of life for the most part, but there's so much more. There's so many emotions that you just will not let out and recognize, Yeah. And now, I feel that a lot of our conversations, and this is kind of, I feel like it's not, makes me feel like it's funny, but I'm like, so we've been together, besties. So over 30 years, like I said, when we started, and I feel like we have seen each other, and we are basically each other's partners the longest we've been with any human. But not our husbands or our children or our parents, besides our families, right? But with each other.
Yeah.
So we've seen each other in all these different timelines, right? Of who we've been. And we've always gravitated toward each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was maybe in our youth, there was more authenticity of how we could be. And then it got to that we were both no, we're living this life and this is how we're supposed to be. We're going to be these people because we love each other, but we're supposed, not the world, we did it to ourselves, but we're supposed to be these people. So this is how we're going to be. And I think both of us felt so afraid at some points throughout the years of actually being you know what, I am pissed off. I am angry at the world. And just even venting, and then we try to be no, everything's good. I feel like we are in a different space now where everybody is accepting of hey, shit happens, and you can talk about it and you can be comfortable with it. And I think you and I we went through that time where everyone was you never talk about bad stuff.
Yeah.
Everything is great. You've got it. You've got
awesome.
You've got the dream. Everything is awesome. I think that's how we're so popular. and you don't complain. What do you have to be upset about or have these feelings? Mind you, all that I think was brewing for both of us because we were suppressing and suppressing and suppressing. And there was stuff that we never dealt with. And even though we had each other, we've had, you know, this bond, it was still very hard to be vulnerable. And my gosh, coming into midlife, how fun. It showed me that, girl, no, there is layers upon layers upon layers that you've got to have to face. And I'm so grateful that I've had you there the whole time. And I want people to have this with somebody or somewhere that you can know that, hey, you're seen, you're loved, and everything's accepted.
And you're accepted, yes.
Yeah. You know,
Exactly as you are. You
and
don't need to be
you don't need
anything.
to do or to please me or to continue acting. You can, you know, we've discussed this a lot, but it's like you can feel completely broken and shattered, and you know, I'm still gonna be here. And you know, I could sit here with you. I don't have to fix you or do anything, but I'll be here. So that's been an incredible gift for me.
Yeah.
So that led to all of being together, going into feeling, you know, all the Delulu magic.
All the Delulu. I'm so glad we get to at least be Delulu with each other.
Well, yes.
And a lot of people, again, do not have that, to just be able to call you and be like, hey, we're just going to talk like, you know, our most magical lives, you know, like the just out of spiral. And then, you know, we kind of vibe off of each other. And it's such a good feeling. And like you said, not everyone has that community, that connection. And for a long time, I think you and I, we would always talk, but it was connecting with other people. We are all connected, right? And I think sometimes we have this where we kind of cut ourselves off from the world because we're tired, because we're burnt out, because we're overwhelmed and stressed. And you know, you think, oh, I'm just going to be like at home, right? Especially like after COVID. And that makes you feel even lonelier or worse, right?
Yeah.
So being able to connect with people. So feel free to DM us. I mean, just, I actually challenge, you know, speaking of fear, I'm so glad that we didn't let this stop us.
Because it wanted to. It was here all month. Just so you know, we'll tell our producer too. It was been here every single day.
I had to use. I want to see what tools you use. So when you're in that fear, like what do you do?
Mine.
Like what tools?
What did I use a lot? So meditation helped a lot during the month, and then calling you or texting, and then the group we have for our team. That's been amazing. My book that we were doing this, you know, the magic. So that really, like, that was really calming to me. A lot of, I mean, I've added so many things. I feel like, you know, like I like to call me and you, woo, but I do a little bit of everything. And it's like going to the yoga class, going like a feeling, because I have to like recenter myself. Like, you're doing the right thing. And a lot of, we know the talking to myself and talking to myself and saying, no, it's okay. And it's okay. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? You know, like what is the worst? I sit with it and then I'm like, what? This is, and it's fun and it makes me so happy. So I'm able to turn really fast going to use all the things. So it depends on how I'm feeling. But the fastest one has obviously always been right now meditation. Like, if I can get myself, you know, whether it's going to a class or just laying on the ground with headphones on and just detaching.
Yes, meditation is a game changer.
So how about you? What helped you?
I think definitely talking to Becky, tell her to chill out, right?
Yes,
but if she didn't, then it was going to the inner, like the little self. And and one day when I was, you know, kind of getting ready to come do something for the podcast, we were going to do like a mock thing. And I started like feeling, you know, like where you feel like you had those deep breaths and you're like, oh my God. Like, and I actually had to like take a minute and go sit with myself. And I was just like, what is it? Like really going within and asking, like I pictured my little self, right? And it ended up being not even like my little self, like 4 or 5. It was more like the 10-year-old that felt awkward, that didn't feel like they fit in or their clothes, right? Yeah. And I actually had to sit there and like talk to her and like, and you know, imagine like hugging her and being like, it's okay. Like you're doing this for you and just talking to her about like being accepted, that, you know, just everything that, you know, kind of like that I felt like at that age I would have wanted to hear. Yeah. And it totally helped. And
it calmed you down.
Oh God. Like, insanely. And then I thought of the therapist, right? Because I know for the longest she talked about inner, doing work with inner child. And I put it off for so long. But once I started doing that, it was really game changing. I remember the first time hearing about reparenting, and we'll do a segment on that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? And I was like, I don't know. if
That's
gonna
not
work.
for
It
me.
always, that's not going to work for me.
I don't need that part. You need to just tell me, give me tips on how to deal with this XYZ situation.
So those were for me the two biggest thing. Yeah, talking to my brain, and then basically going like inner child. If that's, if that didn't help, like, okay, I'm going to go a little bit deeper and see what that can
That's
do.
amazing.
Yeah.
I've got a whole spectrum. Like you said, ADHD talks. I mean, like, I just go across the board. I'm like, what? Who do I? Well, I usually call you. I call you usually a lot. And then I'll call my husband and kind of, he seems to get me off the ledge. But, well, yeah, so we could talk a little bit about that, about as far as the podcast and all that I did. Fear and wanting to hide. And I think I told the team a little bit, or maybe just one of them, but I said how with the podcast, we've been working a lot and doing things. And I just mentioned it briefly kind of to my husband, and I didn't really go into detail after that. And, then we did all this work, did these photos, I did a mock, and I was kind of very excited to share with him that day. And he was like, well, why do you want to share now? You've been hiding it from me. And you know what? I was so caught off guard, and I had to sit for like a good 10 minutes. And I was like, yep, I'm the asshole. I did it, like I hid it, and I wanted to, and then I was like, why did I hide it? I had to like do this whole process. It took me that. Why? So why did you not want him to know? Were you afraid to be judged? Were you afraid to be criticized? He does not do that. He's like my biggest cheerleader. He has been our whole marriage is like, go and do and be and live and be yourself. You don't need to be anybody else. And so that wasn't it. It was, I felt afraid of like putting myself out there like this. And then I was afraid. It ended up being, I'm being afraid of being told, no, don't do that. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. Or it's not, you're not, you don't know what you're doing. Because I've heard it my whole life.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I'm an adult, full grown, and I still had those thoughts. I sat there and I apologized to him. I was like, you know what? This is how I felt. And I said, why? And he's like, I've never done that. And I said, I know you haven't, but I still did it.
Yeah.
Because that's what I know. I'm so afraid of being criticized or being told you don't know what you're doing. Go and pretend into your who
So you're
you
like,
be.
I'm going to protect.
So I'm going to protect it, and I don't. But then, I was like, but I want you to be so excited for me. But how can you be if you didn't even give me a chance? This was just a few days ago. So now I'm like, you know what? No, I need to actually be this person that I know I am and that I am good enough. And, I think you've taught me so much about that. It's like, hey, I am okay. I'm good. I'm amazing. Like, I'm a good person. I don't need anybody else to tell me that. I feel
That
confident in
external
that
validation.
in me.
Yeah.
And that's come from doing all of this work, and it's still happening. I mean, this was just again.
Yeah, I think I just wonder. Will it just happen forever? I think it's just a continuous thing, and you just kind of have to remind yourself. Or I think we've definitely way better at it and way more confident. But we're all humans, and so we're all going to continue going through this. You're always going to feel fear every time you try something new. It's gonna be
But if
fear.
it scares you, everybody says that if it scares you, you're supposed to be. I mean, but then I'm like, really? Because there was a lot. I was never scared. Remember, we were never scared together. We bounced off of each other for so long. And there's things that I'm like, let's go, girl. Now, when it's scary, it's kind of like, it's become almost like, why are you scary? Like, right? That's how I talk to myself. Like, why? Like, but most of the time, because that's what we know. That's what my brain says, because that's where we live.
Yeah.
And being afraid or feeling like you need to hide things, or you need to be this persona who doesn't need to show this other stuff.
It's kind of interesting though, once you get past like a lot, let's say, right, sometimes again, when you're in the thick of it and feeling all that overwhelm or feeling like a ton of fear, but once you kind of start like dealing with it, and this is going to sound really weird and I would have never thought this would come out of my mouth, but it's actually kind of fun to deal with certain emotions. Like,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because then I get curious.
you're curious, but you're an observer. Like the
Yes.
yes, you're able. We talked about this right yesterday. How it's like how it's kind of even amazing that you're like, oh, I can. Well, why am I feeling that way? Right? Like you can do that work and do it now, right? Not like 10 years later down the road. Like why did I do that or have those moments?
That
So
emotional
I feel like
regulation.
you've been able to really do that. Like
Yeah.
an amazing job at that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take that. Yes, I love that because I'm thinking of like conversations we've had, and I feel like you are able to work through.
That's called growth.
It is growth, but it is. We have grown,
Oh, yeah.
and it's very exciting to be here. It's a blessing, and I know it's a gift to that we're receiving.
Yeah.
I we
think
looked for and wanted.
after doing your
Yeah.
people pleasing and suppressing for so long, I think you realize, and I want everybody to hear this because it's so important, is we having all that fear, right, and not moving past it. We're all basically gonna have that fear, right? But it's so important to be able to move past it for like that growth, right? And like facing your like the shadow, right? Facing that shadow self that we're all so scared to face. And I challenge everyone. I think, again, I was sitting on this since January of 2024. But eventually, two things are going to happen. You're either not going to do it, and you're going to be like, damn, I wish I would have done it. I wonder what would have happened, right? Or you're going to do it, and you're going to be like, I did it. It was awesome. So great. And whether it went well or it was still great, I'm so glad I did it, and I learned so much from it. Let's just say, right, if it didn't work out the way you thought it was going to work out. Right. But being able to do that, you start to build trust with yourself and being like, I can be brave and I can show up for myself. And we only have one life. So if we continue to put off all these little things, for me, it felt like almost like it was weird, like a calling, like it was literally something that was always coming up, and I would get these great ideas and write them down. But then Becky would show up and be like, I don't know, girl, we're so busy right now. We're so busy right now. Later. And who knows? And what will people think? And all of that, right? So being able to push through that is just where your magical life like lives on the other side of that. So I challenge everyone, if there's something that you're sitting with that you've been thinking about, that you've been, oh man, I have this great idea, but you keep having that self-doubt, just do it. Just take the first step. Right? And maybe the first step is just listing out everything that you would need to do, or even listing just one thing that you would need to do. Yeah. Or actually, I'm going to challenge you guys too. You could send us a DM, or you can put it in the comments and actually write out like the biggest wish, the biggest thing that you wish for yourself, whatever business you want to start, whatever, wherever a place that you want to go, and write it out. And if you want to take it to the next step, I would say actually write it out, not just like, oh, I wish to go, do this, but actually write it like it's happening to you, like Delulu it, like basically write it like it's happening in your life and feel it as you're writing it. And if you don't want to send it to, again, a friend or someone else, send it to us in our DM or put it in the comments, whatever you choose to do. But I think that would be such a great exercise for a lot of people.
That is an incredible, because your brain doesn't know the difference. What you think your brain is just your brain. It's a part of us, right? So it doesn't know if that's it. So you're creating that. As you write it down. As you write it down, I was not a writer. I was not a journaler. And again, I had to hear it from so many things, podcasts, books I read, all the things about writing. And you create it. You create, the life you want. And slowly you can do it. Like you said earlier, it's like a little bit at a time. And this is like a great exercise, I think, just because you're going to put it out there. And I think a lot of us at this point have heard about, attracting things, manifestation, and really it's faith. All of it is together combined, and you make your world from that. So doing that, writing it out and putting it out anonymously, giving it to other people to put it out there, it just continues. Like you continue, we all have to get comfortable with doing that. Putting our dreams out there.
Yeah, for sure.
For the world, because this was something we dreamt about, and here we are, we're doing it. We made it happen. Could have easily been, put away and not gotten to this point.
Absolutely.
And it here we are.
that first speaking or that first, like even writing it down. I think, the first time
The
it was in a journal.
The writing
It sparks something.
Yes.
It really, really does. Because if you can see it in your brain and you're like writing, you're like, man, I can actually see this happening. This would be, and make it as big as possible.
Yeah.
Like, right? I think
whatever it is that your need or whatever you're feeling, because all of us have something.
Yeah.
And if we're able to get it, wow. We all have that. We're all there. All of us are holding on to something we want. And then like actually defining, like writing it. And I think for you that was the biggest thing, like you said, on like your wish journal when you did that. And I mean, holy shit, here is the reality.
I know. It's crazy. And you guys get to see it like basically being built in public. Like we don't have our sign yet.
Yeah.
And we easily could have said, we're gonna wait, or like let's just until we get that.
We're creating, and we want to create with you. Like we want everybody that is gonna be a part of this community, which is what we want, because we both wanted it. And I feel like we're creating our community. And it might sound funny to some people, oh my gosh, being Delulu, because whatever. Well, you sometimes have to be, you almost going to seem to others like you're delusional because you were going already into your mind, a different mind than everybody else.
Yeah.
So when you start this, I feel like you'll have to feel that. Right?
Yeah.
And you have to feel it because you have to like really see it, or you have to create like, that's the thing that I want to happen, and you have to really envision it, and you have to do all the work.
Yeah. Universe is just, it like flows, and it's amazing. And our wish is that everyone can experience that. So.
And it doesn't, for me, it's like, it doesn't, when you change into this mindset, it doesn't feel like, what would be the word? Just talking shit, basically. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm just saying no. You're actually you going in and you're believing that this is what you want for your life, what your life is, and not instead of will be. It's like is my life is. I am perfectly healthy. I am good. I am a loving. I am love. I am all the things. I am. It's like, and it's you become that. What you think you become. I mean, I'm sure that's a very famous quote.
And we all deserve it, because I think some people will get in the way. And I think, I had feelings of that external validation, needing that because maybe I didn't feel worthy, right? Or no, I didn't feel worthy. Not maybe, like, let's be right. There's something that may be right, whatever. And I think, though, that's not a bad feeling. I almost think it's a feeling that all humans have to experience, because it helps you actually push to figure out, okay, what is it that I'm looking for, right? And how do I feel complete and whole and 100% worthy? And I think everyone is. We all deserve the very best, and we can co-create like our most magical versions of our lives. So why wouldn't we? And I think that's the craziest part to me, that we can, as we see this, like we can basically, we're manifesting, we're co-creating this life, and it's important what you focus on, because that's what's going to come about.
It is, guys. It is. It will come. The good, the bad, whatever you are, the ruminating on, all the things, it will just keep coming. That spiral is, so you have to learn to break it. So I think with that, that's a little bit of who we are. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today.
Go do big things.
Yes.
Wish bigly and
Exactly.
boldly.
Yes. And then remember, nothing changes unless you do.
So stay Delulu and go get it.